The 12 Dancing Princesses, a Dance of Mystery. Once upon a time, in the kingdom of Eldoria, nestled between emerald valleys and silver-capped mountains, there lived a king named Alaric. He was a kind but weary ruler, burdened by a mystery that had plagued his heart and court for years. King Alaric had 12 daughters, each more beautiful and spirited than the last, named Aurora, Beatrice, Celeste, Daphne, Ilara, Fiona, Giselle, Helena, Isolde, Juliet, Katerina, and Lysandra. The princesses were renowned for their grace, wit, and an enigmatic charm that seemed to dance in their eyes like starlight. But their nightly escapades were the source of the kingdom's greatest puzzle. Every morning, the king's servants would find the princesses' bedchambers in perfect order, save for one peculiar detail. Their dancing slippers were worn to tatters, as if they had danced through the night on cobblestones. The princesses, when questioned, offered no explanation, only gentle smiles and vague murmurs about dreams. The king, desperate to uncover the truth, had locked their chambers, posted guards, and even consulted seers. But the mystery persisted. The worn slippers appeared each dawn, and the princesses remained silent. The tale of the 12 dancing princesses spread far beyond Eldoria, drawing adventurers, scholars, and princes eager to solve the riddle. King Alaric, growing older and more anxious, declared a challenge. Whoever could discover where his daughters went each night would win the hand of one of the princesses and half the kingdom. But failure would mean exile, or worse, for the king's patience had worn thin. The arrival of Lorien. One crisp autumn evening, a young man named Lorien arrived at the gates of Eldoria's capital. He was neither a prince nor a knight, but a wanderer with a sharp mind and a heart full of courage. Lorien had grown up in a distant village, raised by a grandmother who spun tales of magic and mystery. Her stories had filled him with a hunger for adventure, and the legend of the dancing princesses called to him like a siren's song. With nothing but a worn cloak, a satchel of herbs, and a flute carved from willow, he presented himself to the king. "Your Majesty," Lorien said, bowing low, "I seek to unravel the mystery of your daughter's nightly dances. I ask for no reward but the truth, though I will honor your terms." King Alaric studied the young man, noting the quiet confidence in his eyes. "Many have tried and failed," the king warned. "You have 3 nights. If you cannot solve the riddle, you will leave Eldoria forever." Lorien nodded. 3 nights will be enough." That evening, Lorien was led to a chamber adjoining the princesses' rooms. The 12 sisters shared a grand hall, lined with 12 beds, each draped in silks of different hues. The room was a marvel, with walls painted in scenes of forests and stars, and a great chandelier that cast a soft glow. Lorien was given a cot near the door, where he could watch the princesses. The guards locked the doors, and the castle fell silent. The first night. As midnight approached, Lorien pretended to sleep, his eyes half open. The princesses, dressed in their nightgowns, seemed to settle into their beds. But as the clock struck 12, a soft melody filled the air, like the whisper of wind through leaves. Lorien's heart quickened. The sound came from nowhere and everywhere, and the princesses rose as if enchanted. Aurora, the eldest, stepped to the center of the room and clapped her hands. A hidden panel in the floor slid open, revealing a spiral staircase that descended into darkness. One by one, the princesses donned cloaks and slipped on their dancing slippers, their faces alight with anticipation. Lorien, quick and silent, grabbed his cloak, one woven by his grandmother, said to render the wearer nearly invisible in shadow, and followed. The staircase led to a subterranean forest, a place of impossible beauty. Trees of silver and gold swayed without wind, their leaves glowing with a soft, ethereal light. A path of polished stone wound through the woods, and the princesses followed it, laughing softly. Lorien trailed them, his cloak blending with the shadows. The air was thick with magic, and he felt as though he had stepped into one of his grandmother's tales. The path opened into a vast lake, its surface like a mirror reflecting a starless sky. At the shore stood 12 boats, each manned by a silent figure cloaked in mist. The princesses stepped into the boats, and Lorien, thinking quickly, slipped into the last one, hiding beneath Lysandra's cloak. The boats glided across the lake to a golden castle that shimmered like a mirage. Inside, a grand ballroom awaited, filled with music that seemed to pulse with the heartbeat of the earth. The princesses were greeted by 12 shadowy figures, each wearing a mask that gleamed like moonlight. They danced with a grace that defied description, spinning and leaping as if gravity held no sway. Lorien watched, entranced, but he noticed something strange. The princesses' partners moved with an unnatural precision, their forms flickering at the edges. As dawn approached, the music faded, and the princesses returned to their boats. Lorien followed, memorizing every detail. Back in the castle, the panel closed, and the princesses slipped into their beds, their slippers worn through. Lorien lay on his cot, his mind racing. The mystery was deeper than he had imagined, and he suspected the shadowy dancers were not human. The second night. The next day, Lorien kept his observations to himself, watching the princesses closely. They were as charming as ever, but he sensed a secret weight in their laughter. That night, he followed them again, this time bringing his flute. As they danced in the golden castle, Lorien hid in the shadows and played a soft tune, weaving a spell of clarity his grandmother had taught him. The music revealed the truth. The shadowy dancers were spirits, bound to the castle by an ancient curse. Their masks hid faces that were neither alive nor dead, and their eyes held a longing for freedom. Lorien noticed something else. The princesses danced not out of joy, but compulsion. Their movements were precise but strained, as if an invisible force guided their steps. When the dance ended, he saw Aurora slip a small object, a silver key, into her cloak. He resolved to uncover its purpose. The third night. On the third night, Lorien prepared carefully. He tucked a sprig of rosemary, an herb of protection, into his pocket and followed the princesses once more. This time, he waited until the dance was at its peak and slipped into the castle's upper chambers. There, he found a locked door guarded by a spectral figure. Using the rosemary to ward off the spirit, he stole the silver key from Aurora's cloak during a waltz and unlocked the door. Inside was a chamber filled with ancient tomes and a glowing orb that pulsed with energy. The orb was the heart of the curse, binding the spirits and the princesses to the nightly dance. Lorien read the inscriptions on the tomes, piecing together the story. Centuries ago, a sorceress had loved a prince who betrayed her. In her grief, she cursed his 12 sisters to dance eternally with her spirit courtiers, trapping them in the golden castle. The princesses of Eldoria, descendants of those sisters, had inherited the curse. Lorien knew he had to act quickly. He returned to the ballroom and played his flute, weaving a counterspell of release. The music clashed with the curse's melody, and the spirits faltered. The princesses, freed from their compulsion, stopped dancing and turned to Lorien. Aurora, tears in her eyes, whispered, "You've seen the truth." Together, they returned to the chamber. Lorien shattered the orb with a note from his flute, and a wave of light erupted, dissolving the castle. The spirits sighed in relief, their forms fading into the dawn. The princesses and Lorien found themselves back in the castle, The hidden staircase gone. The resolution. The next morning, Lorien stood before King Alaric and recounted the tale. The princesses, now free, confirmed his story, their worn slippers a thing of the past. The king, overjoyed, offered Lorien half the kingdom, but he declined. "I seek only to wander and learn," he said. However, Aurora, who had grown fond of his courage and kindness, asked him to stay. Lorien remained in Eldoria for a time, teaching the princesses the songs of his village and learning their stories. The kingdom flourished, and the tale of the 12 dancing princesses became a legend of mystery and redemption, sung by bards across the land. And so, the dance of mystery ended, but the music of Eldoria's heart played on, forever touched by the magic of a wanderer's flute.